Welcome back to WD.
FM, the official Walt Disney Family Museum podcast. We're your hosts, Bree Bertolacini, Content and Research Manager.
And Chris Mullen, Marketing and Editorial Specialist at the Walt Disney Family Museum. For today's episode, we'll be getting into another round of our Collections Clash. If you're new here, where have you been? A Collections Clash is where Bree and I will select objects on display in the Walt Disney Family Museum galleries based on this episode's theme and face off against each other. You, the audience, get a chance to vote on which is your favorite object for each round in our Instagram stories.
In our last Collections Clash, the topic was mythical creatures, and Chris and I both found some fun creatures around the museum's galleries. For the first round, it was a battle of the Fantasia mythical creatures. I won the round with my selection of the Centaurette maquette against Chris's selection of the Vulcan and Bacchus maquettes. I'm sure Vulcan is crafting more lightning bolts in revolt of the vote.
For the second round, it was between my selection of the Venice Film Festival Award that features their mascot of a griffin against Bree's selection of Lillian Disney's Cartier bracelet that features the Blue Fairy from Pinocchio. The Blue Fairy used her magic and ensured her win.
For the last round, it was a battle between two small mythical beings, gremlins versus merbabies. My pick of the merbabies took the win, but it was a close race. I'm actually really surprised that the gremlins didn't tinker with the results to secure their win.
Congrats, Bree, on your win. For this round, we were inspired by the many colors of the museum, and our topic is the color orange. There are many Disney ties to the fruit orange. Both theme park resorts in the United States are in their respective orange counties, and Disneyland once was an orange grove. Looking forward to seeing what orange objects will be picked this time around. Bree, since you won the last round, you're up first.
For my first pick, I'm going with Walt's work badge that was created as an added security measure for all the Disney Studios staff when the U.S. military moved onto the lot during World War II. Now, this badge is number 34540, and there is a bold orange border around Walt's photo. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Walt Disney Studios lot was taken over by 500 men from an anti-aircraft artillery battalion. The studios eventually resembled a war plant with guards posted at every gate, photo identification, badges required for all the studio staff, top secret work areas, camouflage parking garages, and soldiers marching the grounds. Walt enthusiastically responded to the call of arms that was being asked of his studio. He devoted more than 90% of its wartime output to producing military and government training, propaganda, entertainment, and educational films, as well as designing insignias and print media. So not many of these security badges have survived from this era. Walt's is in such great condition, and it's no wonder because it was stored in his valet box that sat on his dresser in his bedroom. You can see this work badge in our World War II gallery, and you can see some of the other treasures that Walt stashed away in his valet box in the display case next to our optical printer number 2.
Great pick, Bree, and as a badge does, nice swipe of a pick. For my first pick, I'm going with the Mickey Mouse Theater Club vest and fez. Yes, before we chanted MICKEYMOUSE, there was a Mickey Mouse Club that regularly watched Mickey Mouse shorts in theaters. It's Orange Day here at the Mickey Mouse Club. For our folks listening on an audio-only platform, it's a very Aladdin-looking fez with a printed Mickey Mouse in the middle in his 1930s look. Embroidery around Mickey, looking strikingly like how they embroider mouse ears at the Disney parks, reads Mickey Mouse Kenosha Delegation. In 1929, exhibitor Harry Wooden launched a Mickey Mouse Club for children at one of his theaters. When Walt learned of the idea, he embraced it immediately, and soon there was a nationwide network of Mickey Mouse clubs endorsed by the Disney studio. Walt said in a letter to Pat Powers employee Charles Giegerich on September 16, 1929, quote, "I feel positive that a stunt like this, combined with a comic strip and various toys and novelties that might be made around Mickey, would help us in making this series one of the biggest things that has ever come out," end quote. Roy later recalled, quote, "And even in those early days, we had Mickey Mouse clubs in theaters. We had over 800 of them at one time. And then we had a department that sold them pins and badges and banners and stuff like that. Walt was just full of ideas like that," end quote.
That's such a great pick, Chris. I love how we can associate Mickey Mouse with another color that isn't red. And so the selection was so great. And another way to talk about that early rendition of the Mickey Mouse Club. So for my second pick, I'm going with a Snow White color model test drawing. Now, when you think of the Disney character Snow White, orange is probably not the color you think of. Today, she's associated with dark blue, deep red, and yellow. This model sheet is super unique and gives a great insight into the color process of character design. On the model sheet, colors are noted for the ink and painters, and her bodice is noted as a golden orange, and the skirt as pastel, and it's colored in a yellow tone. So they're all like colored in with colored pencils. In this model sheet, you can see they were even testing out the color of her eyes. Test B consisted of more pink tones for eyeshadow, and the eye color is the similar tone of golden orange from her bodice. And in Test C, she has a mossy green eyeshadow color and powder blue eye color. And for the final result, Snow White has a more hazel eye color and a pinkish purple eyeshadowy color. So very different from this color concept. Snow White's makeup design was innovative for the time. Mary Weiser, who worked in the ink and paint department, developed and patented a tool to achieve the blend, which was a way to produce smooth, uniform lines or irregular blending, which resulted in pastel effects, kind of feathering texture, stippling, and the staining effect used to achieve kind of the roundness and depth of Snow White's cheeks. If you're interested in learning more about the color design and techniques used for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, I highly recommend Minnie Johnson's book, Ink and Paint, The Women of Walt Disney's Animation.
And speaking of art from the films of that time, for my second selection, I'm going with the Bambi Forest Fire background artwork we have on display. Although Disney legend Tyrus Wong is credited with shaping the look and feel of the film through his Impressionist Sung Dynasty-inspired paintings, this background is not credited to one artist. This is one of the most striking and stirring uses of orange that I found in the galleries on my walkthrough, a painting that adequately captures the chaos of the scene it represents. You're nearly at the ground floor looking up at towering sparse trees with an orange glow that rises from the bottom to a bright yellow near the top. Trees also appear to morph into flames. So I just thought it was a really interesting use of orange, not just like when you're walking by and you see it and you're like, that's orange, but all the emotion that you can see conveyed through that one painting. I just found it really powerful.
I do love that artwork, and I feel like that Bambi case where we have so many different types of artwork from that film are just so evocative, and you can just see just how unique the artwork from that film was. So, great pick. For my final selection, I'm going with the orange Disneyland B ticket. We have a variety of Disneyland ticket books on display from the early days of the park's opening. Now, the B ticket on display has the following attractions available. In Frontierland, the Conestoga wagons and the freight train. In Tomorrowland, the Phantom boats. And in Fantasyland, the Mad Tea Party, Casey Jr. train, Dumbo Elephant, that's what it says on the ticket, and the Mickey Mouse Theater. Admission to Disneyland was $1, including tax, and to ride attractions, you purchase tickets or coupon books to experience 8 attractions for a total price of $2.50 for adults, $2 for juniors, and $1.50 for children. That is a tough one to swallow, knowing how much it costs to get into Disneyland today, but it's, we're living in 2025. This was 1955. At first, there was only A, B, and C coupons that were offered, and in 1956, D tickets were introduced, and in 1959, the famous E ticket arrived.
Well, that was a real e-ticket explanation. Thank you, Bree. For my last pick, I'm going with the Toy Department War Bonds ad. It's just so of its time. Its use of orange just screamed at me from across the gallery, certainly as attention-grabbing as it was designed to be. Upon further inspection, it made me laugh just reading it. It's an orange flyer with various Disney characters surrounding an off-white parchment design in the middle with text reading, quote, "Some Walt Disney characters are doing their bit on the far-flung battlefields, the others on the home front. But all of them will be seeing you in the leading toy departments of the world soon after victory. Buy still more war bonds," end quote. The whole, you're going to be buying toys this holiday season, but still buy more war bonds because we need your support really threw me when I read it for the first time. Below the characters is Kay Kamen's contact information. Kay Kamen is, of course, the trailblazing merchandise executive who pitched Walt and Roy on licensing Disney characters for various products, which provided much-needed cash flow during the Great Depression. And where would Disney be today without merchandise?
Such a great pick, Chris. I love learning more about the World War II merchandising and just many of the unique efforts that Disney did during that era. Now it is time for our honorable mentions. These selections will not be up for voting. My first pick is the Disney Studio restaurant menu. On the menu, there are a wide variety of Disney characters illustrated in a bold orange, all with some kind of food item in hand that corresponded to a menu item. Some of my favorite, Snow White is holding a plate of food for the Snow White special, which is, quote, tasty chicken salad on lettuce with avocado, tomato, and egg for 40 cents. That's insane. Stromboli is holding a sandwich for the Stromboli favorite sandwich. And that is a hot roast prime rib of beef with gravy, mashed potatoes, and vegetables for 35 cents. Again, just wow, these prices. And one last item that jumps out that was the priciest specialty menu item was Monstro's Morsel. It's a fish plate that included fried oysters, scallops, shrimp, and sole, special fried potato, peppy dressing, and coleslaw. And this really pricey item was, drumroll, 55 cents. The menu did have a full steak menu with filet mignon, top sirloin, and French lamb chop. And the most expensive was the New York cut steak for $1.25. And those didn't have cent markings on them. And I really was having to rack my brain because many of these items were like 50, 95. And I'm like,
Dollars?
yes, today's money, that would be right, that it would be $50, $95. And I'm like, no, this has to be cents. So I really, really enjoy reading this Disney Studio restaurant menu. It's very interesting and very of that era.
There's an old idiom of tougher than a $2 steak, but I think this New York steak for $1.25 in the early 40s is probably a really good cut of steak as well. So.
Yeah.
Well, with the recent news about Walt Disney joining Magic Kingdom's Carousel of Progress, my first honorable mention is the orange furniture in the Carousel of Progress model in the 1964-65 New York World's Fair section of our galleries. My first apartment couch was an orange futon, so I was definitely channeling the mid-century interior design sense of John and Sarah. As the Sherman brothers always said, tomorrow is just an orange couch away, or something like that.
Great pick. Well, my second honorable mention is the Donald Duck Mickey Mouse Club hat. This hat is such a funny looking hat that it was intentionally hung up in our display case and not presented straight on because it is a little disarming, I would say. The cap of the hat is Donald's head, and the bill of the hat is Donald Duck's bill. That is a golden orange. The hat has googly eyes, and that's kind of what makes this hat a very unique looking hat. And Donald he's wearing a Mickey Mouse Club hat. So it really is a hat on a hat, if you will. The Mickey Mouse Club logo has been changed from featuring Mickey Mouse to featuring Donald Duck and changed its signature colors to blue and yellow. This hat was advertised to purchase in the Mickey Mouse Club magazine. Donald was featured on the Mickey Mouse Club television show and even had his own song written by the Mickey Mouse Club host, Jimmy Dodd, called Quack, 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 Donald Duck. Some of my favorite lines from the song are at the end, quote, when someone knocks you down, get right up again, show some pluck like Donald Duck. Quack, 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 quack.
Wow, and I thought that lyric was only from Tub Thumping. My second honorable mention is the Mickey Mouse Mirthquake ad that we have on display between the Mickey merchandise wall and the earliest known drawing of Mickey. Yet another sign of the times, literally a sign that made me laugh. They really marketed everything as the best thing ever back then. You see it in the old movie trailers. You'll see this movie is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it's a movie that you never would have heard of otherwise and has not stood the test of time. So marketing back then was just everything's the greatest. Have this thing because it's the greatest. Here's the text. Quote, an avalanche of laughter. Mickey the Mouse in his latest Mirthquake, Cinesound animated cartoon. Mickey is the greatest comedian the talkies have introduced. He's laughter unlimited, rolled into one little mouse, end quote. This text is also accompanied by a depiction of Mickey jamming on a small piano, reminiscent of Schroeder from Peanuts. There's also a fill in the blank space so that every upcoming Mickey short cartoon could be the latest Mirthquake. What particularly tickles me about this ad is that it makes the claim that Mickey is the, quote, greatest comedian the talkies have introduced, end quote. Our collections department determined that this ad was from around 1929. By comparison, the jazz singer, considered the first talkie, had only been out for 2 years at that point, maybe a year and a half. So not much competition yet.
So it would be correct advertising, Chris.
There you go. The greatest comedian started early.
Not at all deceptive. They didn't have computers back then to fact check. So you could really, I guess, put anything up on an advertisement.
Is it really false advertising if you believe it?
Exactly. Well, for my final honorable mention, I'm going with the Merbabies poster once again. It does feature 2 adorable merbabies riding an orange and yellow striped fish through green plant life underwater. This 1938 Sleek Symphony sequel to Water Babies, in which ocean waves forms merbabies who are summoned to a playground on the floor of the ocean. This poster is so eye-catching, and it's just such an amazing condition for being 87 years old. And that is something that is super interesting. We might have to talk to one of our conservators for the podcast here soon, who conserve and preserve all of these amazing film posters. And we have a few of them on display. I know the poster that you were talking about, the Mirthquake ad, that is it a reproduction?
The one that we have on display is a reproduction, but we do have the original in the collection.
Yes. Yeah. So it's just like super interesting how these ephemera items that were not meant to last the test of time at all are still around almost 100 years later.
Absolutely. Great pick. And any way that we can bring the Merbabies in, we will find a way to do. For my final honorable mention, I'm bringing it back to World War II with the 628th Tank Destroyer Battalion insignia on display. It's a color decal featuring a cat swinging an axe downward on top of a tank. As we remember from our coverage of Disney during World War II, including what Brie mentioned earlier, the studio's devoted over 90% of its wartime output to producing training, propaganda, entertainment, public service films, publicity and print campaigns, and over 1,200 insignia at an average cost of $25 each. As reported in Bob Thomas's Walt Disney: An American Original, Walt said, quote, "Those kids grew up on Mickey Mouse. I owed it to them."
And with that, that brings us to the end of our collections clash. I really enjoyed this one, Chris. I just felt like with such a broad category of it being the color orange, I felt like we were able to touch on so many different aspects of our museum galleries that I feel like we don't often get to talk about. A lot of World War II. Make your voice heard on your favorite objects featured here today and visit our Instagram stories to cast your vote, or you can email us your vote at podcast@wdfmuseum.org. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on all social channels at WDF Museum for all the latest updates.
Orange, you glad we didn't say banana? Keep moving forward.
Bye.
Bye.